In this video, we're going to focus on how you can change the font size in a custom plugin based on the screen size. So if I make the screen smaller, you can see the font is starting to change nicely, and it goes until we hit a certain amount of pixels. So let's start to explore how we can do this. So to do this, the first thing what we need is our border template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started. Once you're on here, scroll down and copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page, and of course, got a question, put it on Discord. So what we're going to do now is first convert this into a donut chart. We're going to make a very quick custom plugin because it was related to the custom plugin. So we're going to say a donut chart, remove the scales, we don't have this, and then I'm going to say a comma, I'm going to say a plugins, and we're just going to give this a name center text or center label, whatever you want. Then we're going to say a constant equals that, ID equals this, and then we say comma, and then we say here before data sets, draw chart arcs and plugin options. Once we're in here, constant equals the chart, and then what we want to do here is say ctx, and I think nothing else more. Let's save that, refresh. All right, as you can see, this is a very large screen or very large shape. 700 width is too much. I will make it a bit more flexible by saying 50%. So once we have this, legend can probably be removed. Just for the sake of it, I'll just do it like this, very quick. There we are. All right, I want the text in the center, and as I make it smaller, as you can see here, the text should modify itself. However, remember in chartjs is not that flexible with getting bigger. Is there a solution for it? Currently I have none, maybe in the future. But let's start to work on the one that does matter. We have the center text here, we're going to just put it in here now. Say ctx.save to save all variables above. Then we're going to say ctx. We can say here fill style to give it a color. Let's give this a black text, and then I'm going to say here ctx.fill text, and in the fill text we will have whatever the label would be. I'll just give it label, then give the x and y coordinate. So this one here, I'll just put it in the center, and for that we can just use a quick option for that. I'm going to say here chart, or let's say here constant x equals chart.getDataSet meta, and then number 0 or index 0 data index 0 dot x, and the same goes for the y. So we're going to say here the y, let's close that away, put that away, there we are. Then say here the x and y are now defined. So if I save this, refresh, we have the text in here. Let's center it a little bit. ctx.text align equals center, and finally ctx.text baseline, and put it a bit more in the middle. So once we have this, save, refresh, let's assign a proper font size. So we're going to say here is ctx.font equals, and then I'm going to use here backtick, because we're going to use here template literals, and that will be important later on. So what I'm going to say here is I want to have it bold. I'm going to say here the size of this will depend. So we're going to make it a variable, and then we're going to say here sans serif as the font family. So let's assign a size for this. So what we're going to do here is, well, basically the following. We can just say here by default we have a let value of, let's say this will be the value, let's make it easy. All right, and then we say this will be equal to 50. And then what I want to do is, let's save that first. There we are, you can see here this doesn't work. Let value equals 50, and this is not 50. We should have here the pixel value as well. Now we've got it. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to create an if statement, and the if statement will basically check one thing here. What I want is the so-called inner width, and how do we get the inner width here is the following. So to get the inner width, what we need to do here is, well, let's do that one first. Let's say here constant, and we're going to say inner width will be equal to the window, and then we're going to say here inner width. So what is important, there's an inner width and an outer width, and the difference between them is basically this. The inner width is the width of the screen where you can see the website. The outer width would be from this point all the way to this point here, including the console tab, and etc, etc, basically the entire browser. And I only want the inner part here where we can see the website or the screen related to the page. So that's why we have the inner width here, and let's do a console log, close that, and see if we can put that in there. Alright, as you can see here now, as we move this, it gets smaller, and if I move this the other way, it doesn't even calculate. Interesting. I thought it would be bigger, but it doesn't count. Doesn't matter. So what we're going to do here now is just focus on this part, and then we're going to use an if statement for this. And with the if statement, we're just going to say very simple, if this would be larger than 800 pixels, in that case, what I would like to do is I want to set a specific value, or we're just going to say here, a new value will be equal to 50. And of course, we need to make sure we have the new value here as well. Let new val. So we call this a hoisted value. And we have this one as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare them if there would be a difference, yes or no. So the next thing what I want to do is an else if. And then in here, basically the same thing. So else if the inner width would be below 800 pixels, we're going to say give me a new value of 30. And finally, else if it is anything else, we'll make it small and give this a 15 pixel size. So once we did this, save that, refresh, we can probably even get this here. I want to have this one and I want the other one here, so we can measure this. Alright, and as we go, make it smaller. This is 30, that's correct. If we're going, when is it 15? Let me double check. Everything else. So after that, and then else if, I guess, what we could do here, maybe instead of this, we say here if it's larger than 600. That makes a bit more sense. So we have 800, and if it's between 600 and 800, it will be 30, and else it will be smaller. Alright, so now we have 15. Do I see anything else? I see it not responding. Alright, 30. If I move this, it probably will say here 50. Alright, then we're moving down. Now I get 30, and as we go more further down below 600, then it moves to 15. Right now it's not reflecting, so we have to figure that out. Alright, for that we just need to update the chart as well. So what I'm going to do here is the following. I'm just going to go down here. I'll say here my chart. I'm getting the chart object, and I'll say here dot update. That's basically what we need to do here. We need to update this chart, and of course we're going to make this a function. So we say function update chart, go in here. Alright, so once we did this, this will give the command to redraw the chart. So I'm going to get this function and then basically do the following. I'm going to check if the new value would be equal to the value that we have, and if that's not the case, in that case we're going to update the chart, else no need to update. So what I'm going to say here, if the value is not equal to new value, if that is the case, the value will become new val, and what we're going to do here, we're going to say update the chart, or trigger the function of update chart. Save that, refresh, refresh this. Let's see if this response. There you are, it's starting to respond. You can see here it does respond on one side, but of course it doesn't redraw the entire chart here. But assuming that people will not move the size of their chart all the time, this should be the sufficient way, and there we are. And of course, if you refresh, it will just find the exact position or the exact size. And that's it.